Crews are working on clearing a third channel that would allow vessels to move around wreckage from the Baltimore bridge collapse.
This passageway is expected to be deeper than the two that have already opened in the Port of Baltimore. Yesterday, crews finished clearing a channel that has a depth of approximately 14 feet. It is slightly deeper than the alternative passageway that opened Monday. And only some vessels, though, some smaller vessels, can use these channels, but more bridge debris needs to be cleared for most commercial ships to be able to navigate that water.
And today, Baltimore's mayor announced a, quote, very important piece of economic support.
I'm very grateful that the board approved my request to divert $1 million towards wage subsidies for workforces at businesses impacted by the port closure. We'll be working with the Baltimore Civic Fund, which operated a small business wage subsidy during COVID, and this funding will closely resemble that effort. I want to be clear that this money is just an initial move. It is not nearly enough to cover all the businesses or the workers who will be impacted, but it is an important first step and one that we had the ability to move quickly through this first BOE.
CBS News senior transportation correspondent Kris Van Cleave joins us now from Baltimore with more on this. Kris, we know that you have the deaths of the construction workers and their families who grieve, but you've got millions of people impacted by this economically. Talk to us about the channels that have opened, and I guess a third still in progress.
Yeah, so there are two temporary sort of emergency access channels. One has got about 11-foot clearance, the other has 14-foot clearance. Those are open. Things like a tugboat pushing a fuel barge, those types of sort of low draft vessels can operate through those two channels. They're working on clearing a path that will have a deeper depth, about 25 feet, and that will allow some smaller commercial vessels to bring things in and out of the port. But it is not going to allow big container ships or the very large container ships like the one that struck the bridge to be able to move in and out of the channel until much more of that debris has been cleared out. And that is a long-term effort. That's not going to be measured in days, it appears.
Do we have any sense, because we know Maryland's Governor Wes Moore said that these larger ships that you're talking to need at least 35 feet of depth. That's 10 more than what you were just discussing in terms of their next path. The path also needs to be 700 feet wide to be able to move through the Baltimore port. Do we have any sense of how long it might take crews to establish a channel this big?
Yeah, the shipping channel is about 700 feet wide and 50 feet deep. Even getting to 35 feet would not be enough clearance for a ship like Dolly to be able to access it. What you think of when you think of a big container ship, they often require about 50 feet or more, what they call draft or depth. So even 35 feet would not get everything moving as it should, but it would be a step in the right direction. And that's going to be a process that the Corps of Engineers has to go through to, if there's an area that they can clear where they could sort of have one-way traffic in and out, that at 35 or 50 feet, that would be their goal. One of the big issues, of course, you've got a tanker ship that is blocking part of that corridor that has to be dealt with, and it's weighed down by thousands of tons of bridge debris. So it's being described as a very complicated, in fact, more difficult than first thought effort to clear away the bridge as it came down. It pancaked down on top of itself, and it is a mangled, twisted mess. Most of it has sunk to the bottom of that channel.
Yeah, Kris, seeing the aerials, I remain stunned at the size, the vastness of the disaster, and there's more debris underwater. Where are officials in their investigation into how the vessel struck the bridge?
The NTSB says this will be a 12 to 24-month investigation, and that we probably won't get an update, what they would call their preliminary report, until a couple of weeks from now. It's probably 30 days from the incident. So they're very early in this investigation. Errol.
All right. Kris Van Cleave, thank you.
Thank you, Kris.